call for a welfare check-in. Make sure he's okay. No, I copyright claim my own music on my own YouTube video. Crazy, on one end of the spectrum, you got this. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Busyworks Beats filming videos in one take and not editing it at all.
I'm not normally one to sit here ringing the alarm bells and doing the oh my god red arrow click face thing, but I think we might be kind of fucked. And to prove it to you, I'm gonna show you how I started copyright claiming myself using AI generated content for only about $30 in a couple of minutes, in clear violation of almost all the rules of all of these platforms with zero consequences. So buckle in, because this is pretty bad.
Do you think we're done for? I don't know. I haven't seen the fucking video yet.
The analytics here, as around 40,000 of you will remember, and as around 600,000 of you may have seen, a little while ago I posted a video where I tier listed all of the equipment here in my home studio, and then a couple of weeks later, mysteriously, that video went offline. And this video, at its core, is about why that happened, but more importantly, it's about the absolutely maddening rabbit hole that all of this sent me down. In that video, I decided to use some stock background music, which normally I don't do because I write all the
oh shit. Was that AI generated?
in the description, and I used it. I uploaded the video, and a few weeks later, wouldn't you know it, I got a copyright claim on their behalf. And that's actually a pretty big deal.
One thing worth mentioning is that if it happened a few weeks after uploading, it was either claimed manually by the people who made the music or somebody who didn't make the music, or it was uploaded to a distribution platform at that point, probably by somebody who did not own the music, looking to profit off of copyright-free music.
If you're a content creator or musician, you're probably already familiar with the absolute hellscape that is YouTube's content ID system. I mean, this isn't even my first rodeo with it. I've produced several videos about why it's an absolute nightmare, like when I almost got a strike for using a clip of a fight at a Waffle House, or my video about why musicians who use samples or...
Really did not like this video on the top right here. Can you see it? Yeah, did not like this video at all. So in this video here, he talks about Not Low, who essentially got busted for using construction kits from like sample packs, like basically unedited. She would release them as songs. And then Venus Theory did a video about the problem with using samples. And it's like, no. The problem is using construction kits and then naming it your own fucking song. That's not the problem with using samples. So it's like you're like totally like morphing the problem into a different thing by doing that. But I usually like Venus Theory stuff. But I did not agree with like the framing of this at all, because it kind of makes it seem like what she was doing was not that bad when what she was doing was pretty fucking shitty. And then like another thing that annoys me about that is like that got like his video got a much bigger audience than that original like stupid drama had. So then it kind of like it just misframed it to like a shitload of fucking people. It kind of gave her like an easy way out.
Why should you care about this in particular? Well, if you are a smaller YouTuber who maybe just recently got monetized, or maybe you're a career YouTuber who has an external editor who handles the music in your videos, or maybe you run a very large channel and edit all your videos yourself, or whatever, if you use music in the background of your videos and it happens to be AI generated, or you use AI music specifically because you assume it's safe for copyright claims.
The problem with this is the same thing can happen even if it's not AI generated. I've like used fucking copyright free music before that wasn't copyright free.
YouTube might have just made one of the most impactful and terrible decisions when it comes to copyright and music on this platform. And even though none of it is really legally enforceable, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
I think it's a matter of time before AI like gets some sort of copyright law. I understand everyone's like concerned and whatnot, but it's just a matter of time, bro. It's just going to get more and more out of control. There's always people who are like, no, they can't do that. Like it's fair use and stuff like that. It's like, you don't know what fair use is. It's for like commentary and criticism and stuff like that. Like, and it's you referencing something. It's not for you to a factory duplication of it.
If you're not familiar, when a copyright claim is filed on your video on YouTube, the monetization from that video is held in an escrow account. This means that nobody gets the money until this claim is resolved. In the case that you win, you're all good and you get the money. If you lose though, the money for that video now goes to whoever made the claim. You could dispute this, but there can be massive consequences if you lose that dispute.
Yeah.
You might get a copyright strike, or maybe...
Well, that's not that bad, but I mean, you might go to court.
even lose your channel altogether. Could upload content to this database to have it tracked across different platforms so that if and when your copyrighted content is used without your permission, you are notified and in some cases compensated. At its core, Content ID was designed as a good thing. It's there to protect your copyrighted works, and it's an extraordinarily powerful tool for copyright protection.
The problem with the way YouTube does it is not a problem they can actually solve, though, because like basically they have to pretend like they don't know what's going on their platform in order to like not get sued by other companies and shit like that. So the way that they have it currently is like a random person can just file a copyright claim or strike on your video and be like, hey, that's my content. They have to basically just be like, okay, well, we believe you. Basically, it creates a dispute between the two people and they just kind of stay out of it. You can basically go to court, but basically YouTube stays out of it completely.
The problem is, it can be pretty easily abused. So why does this matter exactly? There are no shortage of distribution services out there that someone could use to distribute AI-generated music and get it added to Google's Content ID database, so that anyone who uses it, or uses something that sounds enough like it to trigger the Content ID system to flag it, ends up getting to have their copyright claim filed, and if someone disputes it, it comes back to you to decide, nope, too bad, and away you go.
Another big problem with this too is when you dispute a copyright claim or strike, you have to give them your full legal name and address, or a lawyer's name and address. It's also a way to like dox people.
Now, in fairness, most of these music distribution platforms will have some sort of safeguard that says, hey, before you upload this, you need to check this box that says it wasn't AI generated, or you need to check this box that says it doesn't use any commercial loops or samples that might trip other people's songs up because that's not fair and yada yada yada.
No, I never got struck for my own music. Are you gonna do that, Sarah? You're asking me where to buy my music earlier. Now you're asking me if I've been struck for my own music. I'm getting a little concerned right now.
But there's literally nothing preventing you from just clicking the right boxes and uploading it anyway, even though it's a clear violation of that platform's terms of service. So that's exactly what I did. Before we get any further into the weeds, though, we should probably take a quick refresher here on how copyright works when it comes to music. Because even if you're just a human making human music for other humans and you have no interest in AI whatsoever, these same things that protect your copyrights as a person are the same things that make AI music such a nightmare and could even affect your music, even if you've never used or have any interest in AI whatsoever. But we're gonna get into all that in a minute. Music copyright works on just a couple basic cornerstones. After you've written a piece of music, you own the copyright to it, and this is protected and determined by just a few key factors, like the melody, the lyrics, if there are any, the distinctive structure and voice leadings, and other defining characteristics.
Another problem with YouTube is how like having an accurate title to what the video is almost never results in a well-performing video. So I mean, yeah, like it's probably a little bit clickbait here in the title. Pretty much kind of have to at this point because everybody else is doing it. Like I guess the best way to do it is to like maybe exaggerate a little bit and then just do that. Can we just watch the Juniper Lee lawyer reacting to Hollywood Venus instead? What does that mean? What do you mean? Are you talking about the red-haired chick?
Determine a copyright dispute are substantial similarity, or if the average person would say the two songs are the same, and the idea of access, or if the person infringing on the rights of one song could have reasonably had access to hear the original and then copy it in some way. Determining the outcome of one of these disputes really falls down
Okay, maybe we can check her take after, but we're not going to watch the whole thing.
down to argument much of the time, and that's really the source of all of the did artist A really just steal artist B's song videos and lawsuits and all that we've seen about 1 billion times over by now. All this raises the ultimate question here. Does AI-generated music or content really have any sort of claim to copyright? And
it's crazy on one end of the spectrum, you got this. On the other end of the spectrum, you have BusyWorks Beats filming videos in one take and not editing it at all.
the answer is no. Kinda. Sorta. Maybe. Back in 2023, the US Copyright Office set out a few rulings for how copyright and AI-generated content works. Broadly speaking, AI-generated content has no ability to claim copyright protection and is not protected in any real way. However, they did say that if there is sufficient human authorship involved, then that work may be eligible for copyright protection. This raises the all too important question, what exactly is sufficient human authorship? And the answer to that is nobody really knows, because this has never been challenged or taken to court where any precedent has been set. And at least at the time of making this video, this means that we are still in the Wild West hellscape of AI-generated content and its copyright protection eligibility, and it's gonna get a whole lot worse before it gets any better. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I was offered a pretty significant amount of money to promote some other AI platform that claims it's offering a robust set of monetization tools for AI creators, specifically so that they can start grifting money off the internet with all this AI music slop garbage. The core of the problem here starts to emerge when you think about not just how AI music is generated, but also how copyright works with music in general, as we discussed earlier. These AI models are trained on databases of music, but almost none of them have clearly stated where exactly these databases were sourced from.
Actually, they have. So yeah, they've admitted it's essentially all music files on the internet of reasonable quality that are accessible on the open internet. So basically everything.
When in reality, they're just referencing some rules that they have to formulate a response without any idea what that response actually means or implies. This is probably an easy way to see why AI-generated music is a real problem, especially when it generates something that's similar enough to an existing artist's work, and really why it's a problem that it exists altogether.
I hate referencing my own videos, but hold on a second here. So this person copy and pasted the tags in here, and then here's what it made. Yeah, I had people in the comments of this video like arguing like, hey, that's not, that could be anybody, that's not Blade, or you pick like the most generic sounding thing ever. That's like the exact same voice imprint.
Because AI-generated music has melody, lyrics, and voice leading, and the other general defining characteristics that we classify as a piece of music, technically, it meets all the same requirements that human-created music does to qualify for copyright protection. To test all this out, I ended up going on Suno and asked it to create some music that sounds like me. And of course, there are now protections against asking it to imitate certain artists, but by engineering the prompt a little bit, and with a little bit of trial and error, I was actually able to get pretty damn close to my own tracks.
I feel like it gets a lot more obvious when there's vocals involved. Like, I feel like instrumental stuff, you know, maybe it might have a hard time like replicating like, oh, I'm not gonna, I say his name too much, man. Flying Lotus. Flying Lotus. I mean, I feel like, you know, it might have a hard time replicating Flying Lotus or something. Is there a stream where I don't mention Flying Lotus? I need to stop that. Flying Lotus beats are simplistic. I mean, I guess they are, but like the groove, you know, his groove is distinctive. It's like kind of unstable.
Where people have used AI to imitate a specific artist's style and then released tracks or albums under that artist's name, trying to get some money out of it. One streaming platform, Audius, even touts this as a feature and actively encourages artists to allow people to rip off their music. Now, in fairness, and I guess in the interest of playing devil's advocate a little bit here, you can say that all music can be broken down and classified with things like genre and instrumentation and...
Yeah, I agree, Corey. Like, how do you ask an AI for a Venus Theory track without saying Venus Theory? It's not generic, but far from unique. I feel like with vocals, it's like, it's gonna be a lot more obvious.
Arrangement and whatnot, this isn't that big of a deal. However, when you consider that musically speaking, all it takes to cause a problem here is for one thing to sound enough like another thing. And in this case, it's an AI-generated thing for...
Yeah, I think there are already too many copyright problems with music to begin with. So, like, introducing AI into the equation is like a huge fucking problem. That's just gonna make things 10,000 times worse. So he's actually got a point here.
Versus a human thing, but the AI generated thing was told to generate something that specifically sounds like this specific human. If that human makes more music or uses a melody that sounds similar to the AI thing, and the creator of that AI thing uploaded that result to a service that has it to Content ID, that's gonna start causing a lot of headaches for everybody. This all becomes even more of a nightmare when you understand that some services also offer ways to upload a clip of audio to base a result on. This in particular creates a really unique problem for musicians and labels and anyone running a music catalog going forward, because when you take into account something like licensing, let's say, where someone wants to use your song in a TV show or a video game or a movie trailer or
oh shit, I get where he's going with this.
something.
This is an ethics problem, not an AI problem, but it's an ethics problem that's derived from AI, or like it's derived from like people copying each other, or like, you know, sometimes sounding similar. It goes from like normal level to Super Saiyan level with AI. So I mean, you know, why not stop that? Also, like, humans are not ethical. Not all humans are ethical. Like, some are, but like maybe not majority. I don't know how many. You don't have to steal to train an AI model, but they do steal to train AI. Do I have to click that button, the legally different enough button?
Example of this, check out these two clips. I uploaded a clip of one of my original songs and then used the AI reference audio function to generate something different.
AI is only a problem if you're making generic music anyway. I don't think that's true, because they could just put your music into there and then it could copy that. Like, okay, what I'm really curious about right now is, what if you take that new Tyler the Creator album and then just stick some of that into AI as a reference audio? What's going to happen then? Because you could argue that's pretty unique sounding, but like, is it just gonna make something like that? Like, what's gonna happen? Lenny Kravitz sound like Jimi Hendrix isn't stealing. It's not, but it's stealing to train your machine learning based system off of other people's music that's copywritten without their permission. And then it gets even worse when you don't pay for it too. They didn't pay for any of this music they traded off of either. They're like double thieves, basically.
Now that really sucks, because I guess you could say that's different enough to not technically be the same thing, and that would mean whoever uses that is free and clear to do so. And in theory,
well, I mean, even if they did pay, which they didn't, I mean, they still didn't get permission. Like, you should get permission if you're going to be ethical about it.
if they released the soundtrack for whatever that went into and decided to copyright it, I could be infringing on their copyrights, maybe to some degree.
Let's say I use AI in order to write an essay for me, and I take somebody else's essay and I put it into the AI and tell it to write me an essay like that. Do you think that's stealing? Do you not think that's stealing? Because that's kind of the same thing, is it not? I think like when you look at it that way, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of stealing, yeah.
In the future, I could be infringing on my own copyright of their maybe copyright because I wrote music that sounded too much like me. And unfortunately, there are no real protections against this either. Even though platforms like Suno
well, stealing, plagiarism, yeah.
But will claim that tracks that are using copyrighted works or have vocals detected are stuck as being private or cannot otherwise be downloaded.
No, it's not like paraphrasing a textbook, because you're like basically just taking the whole thing and then rearranging the words on it. It's like you're doing the meme where you're like, oh, you can copy my homework, but just change it a little bit.
You could simply record the output of a free tool like OBS and then use it and be on your merry way. As a reasonable
copyright claimed myself
human being, you would probably hope and pray that siphoning money off of creators using AI generated content and copyright claiming them would be way more work than it's really worth. But the truth is, it's actually really easy, and it's not even that expensive to get started. So I did it to myself, and it took me less than 20 minutes. I went onto an AI music creator, I generated some stuff with a free account, I downloaded the track and then slapped it underneath some footage of me talking, and then uploaded that to my alternate YouTube account. Then I created an account with a music distribution service. I uploaded that AI generated track and paid the fee for Content ID. All said and done, this took me about 15 minutes and cost me roughly $30. And wouldn't you know it, a little while later, I got a notification that my video was copyright claimed by me for using my AI-generated track. Now, you might be sitting there pretty fucking horrified thinking, why is there no enforcement for any of this? And the unfortunate truth is...
Wait, hold on. Can somebody explain to me what he did? I'm kind of confused here. Because, like, the way I'm taking this, and I'm like, well, yeah, duh. Of course you can copyright, claim yourself with AI music. Like, was there anything special he did other than using the same music in it?
Even though I was in clear violation of their policies for submitting this to Content ID, All I had to do was just check the right boxes and it was uploaded and submitted with no questions asked. On YouTube's end, after disputing the claim on my own video that prompted this whole video,
distributing his own AI tracking content, IDing it. Well, duh. I mean, that's how it works. You can submit whatever you want. I don't know. Like, I just don't really see how that's like shocking. Like, I figured you could do that.
They're just not in a position to determine or enforce any of this. And it's just a matter of too bad, so sad, better luck next time, sucks to be you. This means that the only real way for me to take this any further to resolve the dispute would be to go out, hire lawyers, take all of this to court for what would inevitably be a very long and pointless and expensive legal battle just to prove the point to YouTube that this was AI generated and shouldn't be eligible for copyright protection through systems like Content ID. Ultimately, this means that there's no real...
But who's really at fault here, right? With this sort of problem? Like, who would really be at fault here? Would it be YouTube? Would it be DistroKid? Would it be the AI platforms? Would it be the people that are allowing this to go, like, they don't have like a good system to check for this sort of thing?
No protection and no real enforcement. So if I decided to sit down and make a bunch of AI generated music slop and upload that to a bunch of free background...
No, I know he's at fault. He did it. But I mean, in this theoretical situation that he's presenting.
Music for YouTube video websites that are popular, and then I decided to start claiming people through Content ID, well, they're f***ed. It probably goes without saying that the implications of this and how...
Yeah, I think it's better to just stop it at the source, really.
Far-reaching they are is extremely troubling, to put it lightly.
Well, how would YouTube be able to know, though? You know, unless they had access to like the back end of like Suno, right? And then they could run it and be like, oh, this is an AI generated track.
If you're a musician, in theory, if your music you wrote sounds too similar to a track that someone else made with AI and then they decided to add their track to Content ID, you could get claimed. If someone likes your music, but they can't afford what you're asking to license it, or just don't want to bother asking to license it, they could just rip it off using the audio input functions of some of the more popular platforms. And if the results sounded similar enough, who knows? Maybe now you're infringing on their copyrighted works because the next song you wrote sounded too much like you. If you're a content creator, if you use any AI generated music in your videos...
Like, while there is some like some things to be scared of about this, I feel like quite a bit of fear-mongering.
All it would take is for the creator of that AI track to add it to Content ID, and now you are magically violating their copyrighted work. If you don't use any AI music, but you use music that sounds close to something that someone generated with AI, they could probably claim that as well, and you'll likely lose, because YouTube, a literal multi-billion-dollar corporation, has absolutely no way to enforce or determine the rights to anything, and, well, it just sucks to be you.
I'm not sure why he didn't explain this part in the video, but the reason YouTube operates this way is because Viacom sued YouTube a little over 10 years ago due to massive copyright infringement because YouTube had let thousands of videos with Viacom content be posted without permission. Google uses the safe harbor provision of DMCA to shield themselves from liability. After this lawsuit and the out-of-court settlement, they implemented the copyright system that we know today, and basically in 2024, if it's not claimed or blocked via the copyright system that YouTube has implemented, any sort of infringement that a user perceives, they claim to know nothing about. It basically allows normal copyright law to exist simultaneously with open-ended fair use. The problem Venus Theory is describing cannot be fixed on YouTube's end because they would constantly be open to lawsuits. And that is why they do not get involved with copyright disputes very often.
This is all a giant nightmare, and you might be asking, what can we do about any of this? And the unfortunate answer is, not a whole lot. Until we modernize copyright laws and some of these cases of AI-generated content copyright claims and such are taken to court and precedents are set to establish new laws to keep up with the pace of technology, we're kind of doomed. And unfortunately, the reality of that is, even if one country decides a certain thing, international laws could vary and you still could be just as liable somewhere else as you are where you are now. Even if you're a creator who's not using AI-generated music in your videos, or you're a musician who's not using any kind of AI to create your music, you're still just as liable to respect the apparent magical copyrights of anyone who craps out a bunch of AI garbage and decides to hit the magical Content ID button.
You could do this with anything though. You don't even have to AI generate the music. Like you could just go copyright claim somebody with nothing, with like no evidence. Like you don't even need to do all this. Not that I'm an expert on this and know a lot about this, just saying.
The frustrating and short truth of it all here is that it's probably going to take a while before any of this gets resolved, and it's probably ultimately just going to be resolved in favor of whoever has the most money to throw at the problem. Oh, man. I guess I...
Oh my god, dude. It's so over the top, bro. Jesus Christ. Or he should be an actor.
Apologize here if this video ends on what feels like a little bit of a bummer, huh? I wish there was a brighter, chipper ending I could slap onto all this with something I could say or advice I would give or some action we could take to prevent all of this or help with all of this, but at least at the time of making this video, there's just...
No, I copyright claimed my own music on my own YouTube video. I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
Not. So, I guess instead I could end it with this. You should not ever stop making the art or music or stories or videos or whatever it is you love to make because of this whole situation and these stupid AI companies that, let's be real, are probably just some kind of complicated VC money laundering scheme that we'll find out about 5 years from now. Because one day you're gonna die. And if this is what you gave up doing the things you love over, you're gonna look back on your life and die with...
I mean, it's a little serious, but I also don't think he made like a super strong point about specifically AI with YouTube, because this is already a problem with YouTube in general. Like it's like an AI problem and a YouTube problem, and he kind of just combined the two things and then acted like it's a new problem.
A whole bunch of regret, and that would suck. So I guess maybe more simply, I'll just end all of this with my favorite quote of all time. You only get to die once, so make sure it was worth it.
It's crazy this video was so well received, because I feel like I had the opposite reaction to this. Like, damn, bro, like people really like, they bid in for this really hard. Call for a welfare check-in, make sure he's okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go in any further on him. I do like Venus Theory, but I don't know about this video.
If you're not one of them though, and...
I think it's just a patron thing. I'm curious what the comments are saying. I got a copyright claim on a 500-year-old piece I played on the lute. Is this guy 500 years old? YouTube said I nicked a recording from a CD that was made 30 years ago. It wasn't even in the same key. They withdrew the claim, but it's all greed and silliness. Yeah, that proves the point exactly here, though. Like, it's an AI problem on one side, and then it's a copyright problem on YouTube on one side. And they're both separate problems. I mean, I guess you can make it into a new problem if you want to. How can a thing that steals copyrighted work flag others for copyright infringement? What in the actual fuck? I mean, he's kind of got a point there. That is true. I mean, it can, but it's just shitty. Sad thing, copyright fraud in the arts have always existed. People copied each other and started selling off said copies to the point where the fakes become more popular than the originals. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Okay, let's find the next thing here.